I need to stand there and teach myself.
Are you Charles?
I am.
Okay, cool. Hey, I'm Wesley. I'm also going to take your class later on.
Oh, sweet. Right on. I'm actually, it streams live, so everybody can hear you. But that's okay. Don't worry about it because we're not started. But yeah, I'm going to do the refresher just for people that, and I'm recording it so that I don't have to do it again.
There you go. You can just, here, this is it.
Because,
I wouldn't just put it up for everybody.
No. I'm going to put it like,
put it behind it.
Yeah, I'll put it unlisted and just share it as people need it or something like that.
Because if just everybody sees it, then they're going to be, I can just watch this and go use the machine. Well, no, it's not quite that easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Jason. Good morning.
I'm still outside. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
So if you're still available, I'm going to be home this afternoon. So.
Yeah, let's do that. You want to hit some concerned raccoon teriyaki afterwards?
I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
All right, let's do that. Yeah.
Hey, Jess.
Hey, how's it going?
Kelly, I couldn't pay for the laser.
What's that?
I couldn't pay for the laser. CNC was fine, but laser was. I don't have cash, but I can just like.
Hey everybody,
follow
give me just a moment.
Okay.
Just wrapping up with a couple people here, and then we'll break into this workshop. Thanks, guys. Okay, a couple notes. This is my first time doing a YouTube streaming. I don't know if it's the right platform or not, to be honest with you. I know there's like a 30-second delay from the time I'm saying stuff until you see it just by testing stuff. So doing it a little bit live is going to be, well, I don't know. We'll see how it is. Maybe Zoom was a better choice, but I decided I know I could record with OBS and then I could just share this in the future. So definitely add your questions in there, either on the chat or email me, and I'll go through those questions here and there to make sure that if I forgot something glaring, everybody gets a chance to know what it is. And it's 9 o'clock right now. So this will be available in the future in case you just want a refresher again, but I just wanted to do at least one live so everybody could ask questions. This is the ShapeOko CNC Mill refresher. This is it. If it's been a while, I know COVID is kept me from coming into the workshop often, but here it is. If you if you don't remember it, let's see the things I want to run. Okay, a couple things. This thing's made by Carbide 3D, carbide3d.com, and it needs two pieces of software to operate. It needs the Create software. The Create software is your design software, and everybody that's watching this hopefully got the original packet and you had to do the walkthrough on creating something. If you didn't, there's a ton of YouTube videos out there, and actually on carbide3d.com, every time you go there, they have this little annoying pop-up that pops up and it says, do you want a free workshop? And they send you like 7 emails, like one a day. And actually it's a pretty solid like tutorial. It takes you through a lot of stuff. I did it when I bought it while I was waiting for the machine to show up, and I thought it was valuable, so you might be interested. Of course, you're on their propaganda at that point, but there's also YouTube. I think it's called a crash course. What else? Oh, the Carbide Motion. That's the software that you're using when you come into the makerspace. I don't know if it's on screen or not. Probably not. Oh yeah, it is. This is the computer. Ooh, super dusty right now. Carbide Motion is now in version 5, and there are some changes. Most of you learned Carbide Motion 4. And with Carbide Motion 5, there's just some workflow differences. I came up with this little thing that I said, and I'm not going to say it again because it doesn't pertain anymore, but it was just like a little rhyme that you could get yourself through. But really, using Carbide Motion, there's only 4 things that you really have to remember and that you'd want to write down. And that would be that you're going to connect, you're going to initialize, you're going to 0 and then you're going to run. So I'll run through all of that, but before we do that, I just want a refresher on safety, and because it's important. So with safety, there is an e-stop on this, but we added it. It was just aftermarket. It's this stop button down here on the bottom left of the machine. So you just cram on that thing. You can make sure the router doesn't turn on. There's a little switch on the side of it. It's kind of behind a little rubber cover. Just leave it off. It's not turning on. And I also know the whole machine isn't powered up because I can pull the gantry. Usually when it's powered up, the steppers are on and enabled, and this thing's locked in. So whenever you're doing your material setup or adding in your end mill, etc., that this thing needs to be off. Any questions? Okay, good. Oh, thanks, I appreciate it. What else? Oh, this thing is not 3 laws safe. It will, without hesitation or remorse, it will remove fingers, right? It doesn't care about you. It doesn't know about you at all. So just make sure that your hands are nowhere near this thing while it's operating. Right now, this machine is actually pushed back. You can't really see it on camera, but it's pushed back on this table, and there's a reason for that. When this when the gantry comes forward, and I'll show you, it actually extends past the front edge of the machine, and that could be an issue because if you've somehow laid up your material, you have this rotating bit that maybe you didn't think it would get out this far, and something's not safe out here, or there's just flat and exposed bit out here. So be careful of that. I'll get to questions right before I'm gonna go on to screenshot mode here in a little bit, and I'll read through the questions then, if there are any. What else? Machine off. Safety glasses on. I don't have my safety glasses on right now, but I'm not turning on the machine. So, but I do have my closed-toed shoes on, which you have to have on in here. That's just part of the makerspace rules of being in the shop. Never crouch into the eye line of this machine. If a bit should break or a little knot should come off, or even when you mill pieces that are too close together, if there's not enough support material to hold on to that material, it can fly, and it usually flies in a nice vertical plane and hit you right about here. Well, I'm short, so it'll probably hit you a little bit lower, which would be maybe more painful. But anyways, just keep your eyesight while it's operating out of the eye line of the machine, just for that extra safety. You don't want anything hitting you in the face. And bits do break. You could hit have an unknown staple or nail. It could be flying, and they just, yeah, very sorry on that one. What else? Oh, secure project, most important one. When you are putting your project here, of course everything's off. You put your material down. You put your material down, and there's a little bit of a clamping system on here, but in all honesty, most of the time, you're going to be just drilling down into the wasteboard. It's a wasteboard. Don't worry about the wasteboard. Just drill it in. Make sure it's nice and in there. When the wasteboard gets wasted, I'll mill it down flat again. So please secure your material. Also secure the parts that are going to be free once you're done milling. You know, if you're milling a circle, that piece is going to be free. Now, if you use tabs, you don't have to worry about it because it's still connected to the main body of the clamped material. But be careful about that, about what you might mill that is no longer locked in. So I recommend at least 3 screws, but probably 4 or more. What else? Oh, that's it for safety. Happy day. Well, actually, since we're still here, a couple of troubleshooting tips that I want to go over, just to make sure if you guys are having a problem with this thing, what's going on. One is the most common, probably, is the power. Make sure that this thing's off, that you actually push the start button here. That turns on this machine. You actually hear the USB connect. Now that thing's locked in. So make sure that's actually on when you need to use it. make sure there's actually a switch on the power supply that provides power to this little left-hand box over here. That switch is in the back. You're gonna have to find it. It's one of those annoying inline switches on the power wire. I don't think it would show up on video very well, so I'm not gonna dig it out, but there is an online switch back there. I don't know why somebody would turn it off. Don't turn it off. Use the e-stop, but that could be a option. Also, I've seen this router unplugged. I don't know why. Maybe somebody's being very safe. That's fine, safer than not, but the router's not turning on. It's probably unplugged. The main plug's in the back, so that could also be an issue. And then finally, the USB disconnected on the computer here. Now the computer password, if you'll remember, if you don't remember, it's okay. There is a password again in this computer. It's a 4-digit number that is the serial number that is on the left-hand side of the machine as you're looking at it. It's stamped into a metal sticker thing. So you can use your own computer on this, and actually that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to hook up my computer this same as stop it for right now, but I'm going to grab my computer and then I'm going to take it over here and then drop the webcam layer. So give me just a second. Oh, actually, let's do questions. Any questions? Check the emails. Morning, Lindsay. So far not, but that's all right. I'm gonna move this, ask questions if you have any questions. And I'll grab them after I'm set up here. Alright, I need to disable that. That's a lot of boxes, isn't it? Alright. Let me double check. Somebody tell me if you can see my desktop right now, and then I'm going to open up this real quick. I just want to make sure you guys can see it. Nothing yet? Thanks. Alright. Let me know when you can see my desktop. You'll probably see the, yeah, thanks Jason, appreciate it, awesome. Alright, somebody email me if that goes away. I'll probably check on YouTube, but I'm not going to. Alright, I'm going to grab the USB off this device, off this machine. And I actually haven't plugged it in for a while, so let's see how this goes. Oh, that's power for the machine. Alright, turn this on. Alright, so as I'd mentioned, guys, there's Carbide Create and there's Carbide Motion. We create in Carbide Create. I'll pop up this box. Try to make it really small so you guys don't have to see the endless reflections. Actually, I don't care about you. I care about YouTube. Get you out of the way as much as possible. Oh, good thing I did. You can't see these icons. Okay, so on my desktop, it should pop up here in a couple seconds, are the Carbide Create and the Carbide Motion links. And the new Carbide Motion, which you can either download and run on your own laptop, is it's free, again, on carbide3d.com. Here it is, and I want to do a run through because, like I said, there's a couple different changes in the workflow on running a job. I'm gonna wait for my screen to catch up. We're only seeing the top left corner of your screen. Yeah, I know. I don't know why that does that in OBS. I'm gonna get as much as a pertinent information onto the screen as possible. Okay, so when you launch Carbide Create, it isn't really exciting. This is it. It pops up. It says not connected, and there's a big button right there in the middle. Now at this point, you should be turning on the machine because you're going to try to connect to the machine, and when you connect to it, you know it has to be on. So I'm going to click that button. It's going to go out there and look for it, and it's hopefully going to find it. There we go. You won't get to this job info box unless it's actually on and connected. So I'm going to click on initialize machine. Now like I said, 4 things, jot them down maybe. Connect, initialize, 0, and run. So we connected, now we need to initialize it. That's going to make this machine move to the far back right corner, so you'll hear it. My laptop is thankfully out of the way, and just, I guess, be mindful when you do that you should be clear of this machine. All right, now that we got that, now we have to zero it, and oh, I guess I should have mentioned the most important part. You actually have to load it. I guess there's 5 parts, right? Haha. Oh boy, sorry, not enough coffee this morning, I guess. You can load the job now or you can load it later, but let's just load a job right now. Me too, Lindsay, me too. Documents, I don't know if I have one here. I hope I do. Sweet, I do. So I loaded my job. It gives me some information, and they now estimate how much runtime there is, which is super handy. It also mentions which tool you need to insert, so you don't have to go back to your design file and determine which tool you selected. Now, these are Carbide Create tool numbers. I just know that this is a 1/4 inch. Do I know that? I think it's a 1/4 inch. Anyways, I'd have to go back and check, but I haven't run anything in a while, so I'm pretty sure that's a 1/4 inch, just regular mill. Back to connect, initialize, and then 0. So we need to zero. We need to zero the machine so that it knows where. I mean, it knows where home is, but it doesn't know where the actual material on the work surface is. So that's in jog. Not the most handy place to put it, but that's okay. Now, if you guys remember this, it's a little bit different. You still have this increment where you can go quote unquote fast. It's not fast, but I'm jogging it over to the, now it's moving to the left as if you're looking at that. That's what X minus is. Y minus would move it towards me, which it did. And then finally you have to move your Z down. Now never, I know it's going to be hard to remember it, try not to increment the Z down and fast because it can crash right into that material pretty quickly. So I usually go down to a millimeter until I'm almost there. Then using a piece of paper, I put a piece of paper, like a 3.5 inch card or any paper. We actually have a whole notepad here for this purpose, but put a piece of paper underneath that end mill until you can just barely feel the drag between the end mill and your material. You know you're at the right place, and you can decrement your step if you want to get really close. I don't know that you need to get that close, maybe in metal. Now that just moved this. It didn't set to 0, and this is something I've messed up myself. You actually have to come down and get it on screen. Oop, that didn't help. That really didn't help.
So assuming that, you know, something like that happens.
See if I wait for it to catch up to make sure this thing's at least somewhat visible.
More importantly, save the machine to continue the project. If that does not put it out, push the carriage out of the way. It moves.
Of course not. All right, so my apologies, but below the Y minus button, there's a button that says set 0, and I'm just gonna click it.
It's not a really big nasty fire yet.
I'll have to figure out. I haven't used this open broadcasting software enough to know how to change the screen resolution in a quick manner. So I clicked the 0 button, and you pretty much just need to click 0 all and click done. And we're pretty much there. After that, we know we're zeroed. We know we're at the starting point of our design. That is usually wherever you decided to put it. Bottom left of the top of the material, or whatever you put 0 in the origin of your job, and that was set in Carbide Create or whatever application that you decided to create your NC file in. And we click run. And at that part, we can click start job and start. Now, I'm not going to do that because it's going to make this thing actually go, but a couple notes: you can adjust your feed rate still. You still can't adjust. There's still other things you can't adjust, but you can adjust your feed rate, which is nice. So if it was a little too aggressive or not enough, you can speed that up or decrease it. And I think that's down to 50% and up to 200% if memory serves. And at that point, I would say that's it. I mean, run your thing, run your job. You know, clean up after yourself. Let me know if anything breaks. As always, the end mills are kind of on you guys, and I can give you some tips and tricks. But there's a lot of different. Yeah, certainly I can, Jason. There's a lot of different end mills out there, and a lot of different feelings on what kind of end mills work for what kind of materials. So when we're in design, there's feeds and speeds, right? So there's the speed of which this thing dives and how far it dives into a piece of material. And then there's also the actual feed rate. I'm going to show you where you set that in Carbide Motion real quick, because you would do that all in Motion, or sorry, Create.
And then tag it.
Open up Create. We want to play. Alright, so I'm going to push this over toolpath. Oh, of course I have to design something.
Well, actually, if there's anything that there's a reason for it to be taken out of service, do that. But yes, definitely if you put up tag it, email me, and we'll get on with this.
I'm just going to do a contour. Alright, make sure you can see this. Alright, so when we were in our toolpath editor here, there's a couple of things that you can change to make this go fast or slow. 102 is 1/8 inch. I was off, and you can tell that right here on top above the edit button. So if we click edit, you can change the tool to like a 1/4 inch bit or something along those lines. There's a couple of things. One, step over. That's how far you want the bit to step over the last path. Generally, the smaller you make this, the fewer lines you get and the finer the finish. But also, it dramatically increases the amount of time it takes to run your job. Depth per pass, that's how deep it's going into your material each pass. If you guys remember, spindle speed is not adjustable by software because we don't have a true spindle. We have a router. That's what comes with the machine. You adjust that on the router itself. So feed rate, that's how fast the machine jogs left to right in the XY plane. So the X feed rate is your XY speed, and that's millimeters per minute up here. My whole layout is in millimeters. Yours might be in inches. I just set mine up for metric because I measure it all out in metric. In the Z plane is your plunge rate. Now, I've noticed that they've gotten a little less conservative with their numbers, so I wouldn't necessarily double these numbers anymore, but you could probably at least go 1.5 times faster, given the type of material that you've selected in the initial design setup. So in the initial design setup, I'm gonna see if I can get out of here. Okay. Back in the original design, if you remember, make sure you can see that. Sorry. There's a box where it says material. Right now it's just got it defaulted to acrylic, but typically I work with HDPE for the most part. Let's see if it can catch up and if you can see that. Yep. And so the software will recognize what type of material you have and give you suggested safe feed rate for your material. It's usually, like I said, way too slow. If you just select the default, you're fine, and you can just jack up your feed rate, which again is that XY movement speed. Another reminder, just below, you can't really quite see it on the screen, there is a selection of the ShapeOko type. Let me see if I can shrink this down a little bit. The machine is a ShapeOko XL that gives you that 33 by 16 inch bed. If you just select ShapeOko, it's going to limit you to that 16 by 16 inch bed. And then retraction height, you can't really see it on the screen, it's just below that. Retraction height is how far the machine will lift up before it goes and plunges down into another part of the material. That's nice. It defaults to 10 millimeters. It's nice if you have something with an uneven top surface. Not so nice if it's nice and smooth and you're waiting for it to go up and plunge down like every pass. It can get a little old. And I guess since we're here, the other reminders are measure your stock thickness. The stock thickness should be measured with like some calipers, because if you tell it to mill to the bottom of your material and it's if it's actually 25.6 millimeters, you have to cut through your material to get to the bottom of the wasteboard. Now I will go into my tool paths and I'll show it to you. Actually, tool path, it shows you 9 minutes for this one based on our settings. I'll actually go into my toolpath, and often I'll change my max depth to just below my actual depth, so that and not by much, because you have to worry about your tabs and leaving your tab material there. But if you take out another millimeter of material and you carve into the wasteboard, you're not doing a bunch of post-processing work when you're done with the job. All right, that is just about 9:30, but I don't have anything to do. So if you have any more questions, feel free to shoot them out there.
I love group use of Right computer. I also have 7 things I want to put right now.
All right, well, I think that's it then. Thanks for stopping by. I'm going to gobble up this recording, and I'll save it for prosperity, I guess. But if you need to follow up again in the future, please do let me know. Oh, we got another last question here, maybe. Does the space have any clamps to use instead of screws? Another one from Lizzie. Yeah, the space does have a large number of clamps. Not only are there some, we're gonna get off of this view so I can show you. Let me push up my camera. Okay. So the space has, sorry, you're looking at a big ugly light right there. So the space has some, let's get rid of that light. It's a really dark corner, as you can tell, so had to bring in some light. So the space has some clamps that go into T-track, and there are T-track on both sides of the machine. The problem with this stuff is, you know, if your material's only this big and you're only clamping on one side, but you can use these. They're decent. They're from Rockler, and there is T-track. You could, in theory, put down some other T-track. There are some clamps up on the wall behind me. Some of those might help out. Feel free to use those as well. Let me move this bit here. But yeah, certainly screws as well if that's not. Also, when I started, there were a couple YouTube there's a lot of YouTube videos out there, and then some bulletin board things. A lot of people use carpet tape for the lighter projects, but I don't like using carpet tape because it lifts your material about that high, and I guess if you don't mind, it works, but it also like pulls up stuff off of your wasteboard, and you got to watch about what are you actually gluing it to. Is it going to pull off some sort of finish off of it? But it's not for me. I guess it is for some people. Lindsay's asking, does the Carbide software only work with the ShapeOko? I don't think that's the case, to be honest with you, because it generates a Gerber file, or gerbil, and I have never used it. I'm sure it works with the ShapeOko3 that we have down below in the lower part of this table underneath the ShapeOko3. But no, I would imagine you could use it with anything, to be honest with you. Rich and folks use painter's tape on crazy glue. Yes, they. Lindsay asked, Rich and folk use painter's tape and crazy glue. That's very true. That is another way to do it. I've seen some sign makers use. They'll use painter's tape. They'll tape down the material. Then they'll use CA or crazy glue or super glue or whatever, and then they'll put another layer of painter's tape the other way to make their own version of a double-sided painter's tape. And that also works. I've seen some people do that. Honestly, I don't think about that so much because you need some nice material that will stick to it, and painter's tape, I guess I get a little stuck on my world. Painter's tape doesn't work well with HDPE. It does on some, like this is a natural HDPE, and the painter's tape will stick to this stuff pretty nicely, but the Starboard has kind of a finish to it, and it seems like it doesn't stick very well. So, but that's an option. It's a great comment. Yep. Yeah, gotcha. Oh, I got you, Lindsay. You were wondering about the big machine. Maybe. I mean, I haven't thought about it. I know that we now have in the makerspace V-carve licenses that we can give away to people. Well, not give away. You just have to sign up and get a key from us because we have a makerspace edition, so it's mostly unlimited. So if you want to try V-carve, let me know. It's kind of a step up, but that's a design, and it's actually a really nice piece of design software. Just email me on the details for that. But for the CNC router parts machine, you might be able to generate NC code. You'd still need to know how to use the motion software, which is Mach 3, I'm pretty sure. I think they're using Mach 3. But that might be something to talk to Rich or anybody on that one. I don't really use it. So. But good question, Lindsay. That's a great question. Particularly as you guys know, you have to know how to use the ShapeOko as proof that you at least have the concepts of milling down before you get to use the big machine. But there's been a lot of use on that machine lately, so I think Tony is also very skilled in using it now, so if you need to pitch him for some assistance on that. No, he's not, to be honest with you, and I think at this point it's more about the question was, is Rich planning on doing a class for the large machine? No, nope. It's kind of a one-on-one thing now, and I think there's just free, essentially. You know, you just have to show them that you know what you're doing. Like, hey, look, I created this sweet project and I got this stuff down. I need to use the bigger machine now. And you could probably even get Tony to help you out with that, I think. Just reach out to him on Facebook or whatever and ask him if he's willing to come in and help you out on that one. But good question. There's just not enough people at one time to that have interest, I think, just because there's just so much more to it. Oh, that's not fair. It's not that hard. Let's see, anything else, guys? No. Okay. Well, we'll wait for a little bit longer, but again, thanks for dialing in, logging in, whatever. Let me know how this format worked if you don't mind. I know there's some technology challenges just being the first one, and I need to figure out the OBS software to figure out the screen resolution. But I don't know if the Zoom or the Teams would have been better. I'm sure just for talking, going back and forth maybe, but and maybe Teams can record better than I feel like I could have gotten it done with. I just know with the switching from screenshots to cameras, maybe it's there, but let me know how you feel about the YouTube. Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay, and thanks, Jason. You guys, thanks for the great questions. Actually, it really filled in some gaps, and yeah, please come in and use it. She's sitting here waiting for you. Take care.
Stand